All right, we're back again with another episode of Roofer Reflections. Lucky to have Jerry here today to share a story. Jerry, thank you for coming on the show.
More than a pleasure. Glad to be here.
How long have you, been in around the roofing industry?
I guess this September will be 45 years.
How did you find your way into the roofing industry?
In 1980, a good friend of mine got out of the Marines, moved back, came back home. His mother was a travel agent. She was a travel agent for a rep for a company called Dynamit Nobel, one of the first single ply manufacturers. They were based out of Germany. And this guy, John Lamberta, set up shop in Geneva, Illinois to start a repair crew because they were having problems with these new single ply roofs they were selling in America. It was unreinforced PVC. Long story short, I became part of this repair crew. And it wasn't but a couple of years, they realized it was a little more than a repair crew was needed. These roofs were literally shattering, exploding, pulling in the perimeters of buildings as they shrank. And so they transferred me to Georgia from up by Chicago, from Geneva, Illinois. And that was in 1982, and I've been here ever since. Went to work for a contractor in 1984. And since then, it's been a fast ride, and it's been a great one. I would have never had guessed I'd end up in the roofing industry, and I really never would have guessed how much it had to offer and how much I got to see and do within that industry.
What was your progression through roofing?
When I started, like I said, I worked for a repair crew. We were going around and we were fixing leaks and doing some pretty substantial repairs on these unreinforced PVC roofs that were mostly ballasted. They had a tendency to shrink until they cracked and shattered. And so once they started to realize that this problem was bigger than just a repair crew, they shipped me down here to Atlanta to evaluate roofs. After a roof would have like 4 leaks, they'd send me out to see what the condition of the membrane was. I'd take samples, send them off to our home office in New Jersey. They were basically replacing all the roofs they installed on their nickel because they were going bad. So within 2 years of moving down to Georgia in 84, they realized, you know what? We're not selling this product in the US like this anymore. They sold the company, or that portion of the company, and I stayed here. I went to work for a roofing contractor. And my first day on the job, they fired the foreman of the crew they put me on and made me the foreman the next day. It was overwhelming because all the guys on the crew had been roofing for years. Now, I had done repairs on this particular type of roof, and we had done a couple roof replacements, but I wasn't a seasoned roofer, especially a seasoned commercial roofer. So a lot of these guys were like, yeah, we'll see how this works. And after a couple days, I told them, I said, we need to make the best of this. I didn't ask for this position. You guys may think you're better qualified, and I would probably agree. But this is what we've got now, and we need to learn to work together. And I'm going to learn more from you than you'll learn from me. And that kind of set the tone for 6 years with that crew. And I'll tell you, I couldn't have asked for a better experience or a better bunch of guys to work with because they were supportive, they were fun. We all kind of came around to have the same mindset. We hung out together after work on Fridays, and I won't elaborate on that, but we had a good time, and I'll tell you, we could really put down some roofs, and we did a great job. We were the only ones in our company that did heat welded and solvent welded based systems, while everybody else was doing build up or EPDM. And most back in the 80s, most everybody could do EPDM down in this area around Atlanta, Georgia, because there was a ton of it going down.
what did management see in you? Did you ever find out?
They said, well, we put you on that particular crew because they were working on a Trocal roof, which you're familiar with, and we watched you. We had a superintendent up there, and Richard Rowe, who's with Atlas, or was with Atlas Installation. He was my boss at the time, and he said, and I came up and I watched you. And now these guys were seasoned commercial roofers, but they didn't have instruction like you provided them on this particular type of roof. So we picked up on your teaching abilities, and we figure you can learn roofing from them, and you will pick up the rest on your own. But I think it was more the fact that I had a good eye for detail. I was able to instruct how to do that particular type of detailing, and the rest would fall into place with different membranes and things such as that. I got all the tech manuals I could for all the different single ply products out there, and I went through the manuals. And there's literally, if you go through these things, there's a pattern to all the different membranes of, seam width and attachment types and things such as that. And I picked up on that, and I understood why roofs, I quickly understood why roofs were installed the way they were as far as attachments and such.
If someone is considering joining the roofing industry as a career, what advice would you have for them?
My advice is pay attention, never be content with just doing what you're doing. Always try to climb that corporate ladder, so to say. Learn as much as you can, whether it's, installations, inspections, sales. My suggestion would be never settle for what you're doing, because I started out as a helper on a crew, and the next day I was the foreman.